Well, aloha and good afternoon, WNBA and LA Sparks fans, and welcome in to the LA Sparks 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home of the WNBA, and your two-time WNBA champion, Los Angeles Sparks. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into a special edition of Sparks 365. As you can tell from the title, folks, we are live in the surfing capital of the world. We are here, folks, on the move and on the go from Studio 1908 here in wonderful Honolulu, Hawaii, everybody. Good afternoon, folks. Cal McClure joining you here live and in full here from Studio 1908 here in Honolulu, Hawaii, folks, on vacation. And we are really excited and happy to be here with you folks right now live and in full on the Spark 365 Network. It is 88-degree afternoon here. It's currently, as you folks may know, we're 3 hours behind Los Angeles in the PAC time zone. So really, folks, it's actually 5:31 in the afternoon here on Saturday, and it has been a gorgeous day today. It's been raining a little bit off and on, and it's been really hot and humid over here the past few days, but we are all getting through it. But folks, to be really fair though, folks, I'm really excited to be here with you folks right now. We will probably have Chris Mancy on sometime very soon from back home at the Earnhardt Studios up in Anaheim, California, but we'll see what happens, folks. But again, a kind of a special edition here, folks, of the Sparks 65. We're coming live and in full right now from 1908 in downtown Honolulu, Hawaii, folks. As you see, we got the backdrop behind us here from inside that, if you folks know, yesterday we tried to come on, but the very hot temperatures, folks, it was about 88 on my balcony yesterday, plus my laptop was plugged into the charger. You can kind of go from there about it overheating because that's what occurred yesterday. Also, I had left my hotel to get some dinner last night. But everything is going well, folks. I'll give you the quick little recap of my 3 days so far in a nutshell, basically, folks. Again, we left for Honolulu back on July 31st from San Diego to Los Angeles. Flew out of LA back to come over here and landed, got moved in, settled in, and crashed for a bit. Walked around a little bit, did some shopping, got some food, and of course came back here. Then yesterday was the really first day to go. It was really the first day for us to go sightsee yesterday. So we went and just drove around the island a little bit, saw some of the famed beaches over here in Honolulu, and went to the Dole Plantation, got my sugar cane. So I was really happy and giddy about that, and just hung out yesterday. Then today we went to the Aloha Stadium swap meet. So it's been a fun 3 days so far, with more to come down the road. And of course, folks, we will have the 33rd annual World Boys Tournament, folks. That baseball tournament live right here on YouTube, but on the Calamac 94 YouTube video chat, folks. So again, I'm really happy, folks, to be here. One on vacation, but two, though, doing some work, though. But again, hopefully everyone back home in Los Angeles and across the U.S. and the continental 48 states is doing well. I myself am doing great over here, even though I'm 2,000 miles away from downtown L.A. and the time zone. So hopefully free Wi-Fi and broadcasting live here on the LA Sparks 365 network. Okay, folks, we'll get to the task at hand. We'll do some scores from today and a few days ago, folks. And again, we should be joined here by Chris Mancy sometime soon. If not, he will hopefully join us sometime later down the road. We are going to be live on the Sparks 365 network, folks. The final score, the only final score from today's game in the WNBA, folks, the Minnesota Lynx extended their winning streak to 9 games as they beat the Tulsa Shock 84-75. Currently in progress, folks. It's a thriller right now down there in Phoenix. 60-58 Phoenix leads Indiana with 8:55 to play in the fourth quarter. We will try our best to keep you folks posted with that game while we are on the air till about 6 o'clock local time over here, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. The scores from yesterday and for the past few days, folks, which has been a lot going on here in the WNBA. Of course, we get to the big game, folks, that really was the only game worth watching on Thursday, where the Minnesota Lynx finally ended the long winning streak of the Phoenix Mercury as the Lynx crushed the 75-67 to end the Mercury's franchise best 16-game winning streak. Folks, I told Chris Mancy when we were on FaceTime a few days ago, when I first got here, that, is as much as it was cool to see the Mercury win that much, is I kind of had a feeling, folks, that if and when the Lynx got back to full strength, they would be the team to beat Phoenix in that winning streak. Not Los Angeles, not Atlanta, but it would have been Minnesota, who's had problems with the Mercury all year because, for one, the Lynx were never at full strength for those first few games playing Phoenix. They were always without Rebecca Brunson. You know, Simone Augustus just got back in the lineup from her injuries as well. So I figured that if the Lynx ever got back to 100% health like they did on Thursday, they would be the team to beat the Mercury and end that long winning streak, which to put it in perspective, folks, Mercury's winning streak fell 2 wins shy of tying the WNBA record held by the 2001 WNBA champion Los Angeles Sparks, who won 18 consecutive in the 2001 season. The game stats, folks, player stat-wise for the Mercury in this contest: Brittany Griner, 18 points, Candice Dupree, 13 rebounds, Diana Taurasi, 6 assists, Penny Taylor, 4 steals, and Brittany Griner with 4 more blocks to her credit. For the Lynx, Maya Moore, 20 points, Rebecca Brunson in her first game back, 12 rebounds. 2 players had 5 assists for the Lynx. Maya Moore, 4 steals, and Monica Wright, 2 blocks in the contest. The Mercury and Lynx will hook up again on August 9th down there in the desert. Now, folks, to the Mercury side of the story, a great run with that long winning streak, folks. But like I say a lot, though, in any sport you play at any level, it's tough to win consecutive games and above all to drag a winning streak out over a course of 16 to 18, or in soccer case with myself, seeing 48 straight. Now we can talk about the Globetrotters. We could talk about the Harlem Globetrotters. Always win, folks. That doesn't really count because it's not an actual sport. But I will say though, it's tough to win though, and especially to carry a winning streak, folks, of such magnitude. If you're carrying one about 18 straight, 33 straight like the Lakers did back in 71-72, or even with the soccer's case, winning 48 consecutive. You always have that target on your back. You're America's most wanted. You're public enemy #1 because people want to beat you. That's what I also say a lot, though, too, is when you have a team like the Mercury or the Sockers that, have these long winning streaks, that is the game you overcoach for, or you coach for, you train for, you work for, and you circle on the calendar. This is the date that we play the best team in our league. Now it's our turn to go out there and show that we can hang with these guys and, above all, stop that winning streak. And by the way, just a quick update, folks, from Phoenix. The Fever have gone ahead of Phoenix 62-60 in the 4th quarter. Again, we'll keep you guys as closely updated as we can during the course. Getting back to the top to the Mercury winning streak here, folks, again, they had not lost a game until Thursday since June 12th. And they had gone on a mammoth roll, folks, of just crushing everybody in front of them. And in a lot of ways, folks, the Mercury's winning streak vaguely remember me a lot of how the San Diego Sockers went on that 48 consecutive winning streak where they went 24-0 in 2011 and 2011, or 2010-2011, and carried it all the way till February 1st or January 31st of 2014. How they were just, crushing everybody put in front of them, by array of margins, folks, whether it was, a 1-point win, a 2-point win, or in some cases, the blowout wins of 10+ points. The Mercury winning streak vaguely sort of reminded me, or made me the San Diego Sockers of the Major Arena Soccer League, how they went unbeaten, for those, for 3 straight years undefeated, when they finally lost in Dallas at 48 consecutive to set the longest winning streak set by a U.S. major pro sporting league team. And again, folks, to carry a winning streak of any magnitude in any sport you play is tough, especially if you're carrying it, when the competition is the best talent in your league, especially if you're playing in the WNBA, folks, where you have so many teams that have so many great players, like the Sparks, like Phoenix, like Minnesota, Atlanta, all the great teams out there in the league. And, not to discount away from anybody, but it's really tough because it's really a struggle daily. And, it's kind of like, how in baseball, how a lot of guys don't talk about a no-hitter or a perfect game going on. No one talks to the pitcher. No one says anything to anybody. They're all quiet. that's kind of how you treat a winning streak almost too. Is you just don't talk about it, folks. I mean, you just go out there and play your style of game, and if you win, if you're going to win, and just have the mindset that we're going to win, that we're going to win this game. So the Mercury again, folks, have their 16-game winning streak snapped by the Minnesota Lynx on Thursday by the final score of 75-67. I might be wrong here, folks. Let me go back and double check the score real quick. Yeah, 75-67. Minnesota over the Phoenix Mercury. Back to the game live right now. The Fever currently lead the Mercury 63-61. Again, the only 2 games in the WNBA tonight, folks, again, was the Lynx defeating the Tulsa Shock 84-75, and the Indiana Fever currently lead the Phoenix Mercury 63-61. Now, we will get to the Sparks, folks, right now, as I know that we've not had a lot of time here, of course, with my travel day getting on to the, of course, with the travel day getting over here to the islands and everything else, including, folks, again, Calvin Clark Jr., folks, you're live and in full right now from Studio 1908 here on the in downtown Honolulu, Hawaii, folks. Now, we missed the Sparks game, folks, on Tuesday because that was my travel day / my packing / travel day to get over to the islands. Again, the Sparks on Tuesday we're pretty much, folks, put into a blender and spun up and chopped into itty bitty little pieces, folks. As the Mercury clobbered the Sparks 90-69. That did extend the winning streak for the Mercury up to 16 straight wins. Folks, really, to be honest, I know a lot of people agreed, but there was really, folks, no confidence / faith in the Sparks beating the Mercury on Tuesday, even if Candace Parker would have been healthy, because the Mercury have simply owned the Sparks all season. And again, folks, there was really no need, or really there was really no sort of thought of the Sparks winning this game with the Mercury on Tuesday night. But again, the Sparks got rolled on Tuesday, 90-69, folks. And again, the Sparks tomorrow will take on the Connecticut Sun, folks, to open up a 3-game homestand. The other games tomorrow in the WNBA. New York at Atlanta at 12 noon Pac time, 9 a.m. Hawaiian time. Connecticut at Los Angeles, 12:30 Pac. Washington at Chicago at 3 o'clock Pac. And San Antonio at Seattle at 6 o'clock Pac tomorrow in the WNBA. Now, folks, a preview of the upcoming game tomorrow with the Sparks taking on the Connecticut Sun at 12:30 Pac, 9:30 Hawaiian Standard Time over here. Again, the Sparks will hook up with Shanae Ogwumike and the Connecticut Sun tomorrow for the second and final time tomorrow. And, of course, it'll be round 3 of Ogwumike versus Ogwumike when the Sparks take on the Sun tomorrow afternoon, folks. Now, at this point in time, folks, it's a tale of 2 different clubs. The Sparks right now currently are 12-15 and in 4th place in the WNBA Western Conference, while the Sun have plummeted to the cellar. They are 11-17 and 7 games out of 1st place in the WNBA Eastern Conference, where the Sparks and the Sun are equally put together, folks, that both teams struggle on one side of the story, where the Sun are 4-11 on the road, and the Sparks are 4-9 at home. So, folks, as you can tell, it's tough for either team to win at home and win on the road. So that's one deal cut out for the teams tomorrow. And, of course, tomorrow, again, is the third time already, folks, this season we will see Shanae and Nneka Ogwumike face off this season. The first time, of course, when the Sparks played the Sun back in Connecticut. And, of course, round 2 was the 2014 WNBA All-Star Game. The current standings right now, folks, in the Western Conference right now, with the Mercury loss to the Lynx and the Lynx win today, the Lynx have cut the deficit to 1 full game over Phoenix. So if the Mercury does lose today, it'll be down to the teams will be tied for first place by percentage points at 22-5, around the Mercury at 22-4. First place, Minnesota 22-6, second place. San Antonio 13-5, Los Angeles 12-15 to make up the playoff picture right now. So again, the Mercury 22-4, Lynx 22-6, Stars 13-15, and the Sparks 12-15. The top 4 teams right now in the Western Conference. Bottom 2 right now, Tulsa 10-19, and Seattle a astoundingly bad at 9-20. In the Eastern Conference, real quick, folks, as right now the Mercury have gone ahead by 4 now. It's 67-63 with 4.5 to play in the game. Atlanta at 17-9. They lead the Eastern Conference by 4.5 games over both Indiana and Washington. Both those clubs are 13-14. Chicago 11-16, and the Sun at 11-17. So, folks, again, not much else to cover here again, but real quick, folks, I do want to get to a story because this is one that has really caught my eye over the past few days. Now, before I believe either one, I landed in Honolulu on Thursday night. I was, I believe I was, I want to say I was back, I was in my hotel room on Thursday or yesterday, and I came across this article linked from Sparks PA announcer Huisha Bush from the Washington Post, folks, and it is a great story that every Sparks fan out there has to read because it is one of pure emotion from Kristi Toliver, folks. Now, we know about KT this season, how we had that awkward and out with the Slovakian national team. Folks, Dave Shenin of the Washington Post, folks, he had great covering KT's overseas adventures, folks. I'm going to read you folks a quote from this article that we will link to you folks. On May 6th, in an office at the Department of Domestic Affairs in Bratislava, Kristi Toliver, Virginia-born, a faithful and upstanding citizen of the Slovak Republic. A process that had been more than a year in the making was completed in a day and a half. Soon she was in roughly 75% of the players in the WBA currently play overseas during the league's offseason. But now for Toliver, there will be a third, the Slovak national team, that was part of the deal for the passport. Navigating the summer of 2018 as she toggled between LA and sorry folks, between LA process facilitated by her agent. Shoot. Okay. All right, folks. It looks like we had a bit of a small little problem. There we go, folks. It looked like, again, folks, my internet here's been a bit kind of shady here, a little bit here. It's been kind of dropped a bit, so. The naturalization project, facilitated by her agent, was designed to open doors for her in her career. With the European passport, Toliver can command a significantly higher salary in the Russian Pro League and gain entry via Slovakia into international competition and potentially the 2016 Olympic Games. But she also couldn't help but think of the doors that were closing. She had always dreamed of wearing the red, white, and blue of Team USA in the Olympic Games. That dream, by the rules of international basketball, died the moment she joined the Slovak national team. And as the summer wore on, she also began to wonder whether this life, with its 12 months a year of basketball and constant travel, would be sustainable. And if not, which part of it she would have to drop. The inevitable answer of leaving the WNBA entirely, though still merely a hypothetical at this point, gave her pangs of guilt for all that the founders of the Women's League had done for later generations. KT also was quoted saying that you almost don't want to let the Pioneers down, but you also have to make a choice. If you're not happy, you kind of gotta go with that, close quote. It all hit her the last week of May. Just 3 games into the Sparks' season, she bid an awkward goodbye to her teammates and coaches and headed to LAX on her way back to Bratislava for a mandatory training camp with the Slovak national team. It was preparing for June's qualifying tournament for the 2015 European Championships. As usual, her sister Carly, who lives with her in Venice Beach, drove Christy to the airport. Miles, Christy's beloved pit bull, came along for the ride, growing visibly downbeat as he began to recognize the route to LAX. In the passenger seat, Christy could barely summon the emotion to comfort him. KT recalled weeks later saying that I go overseas all the time and it's like nothing. This was the first time where it was interrupting a season, the summer season. I felt like I was abandoning my team, and I felt like, what am I doing, and why did I make this decision, close quote. As their plane took off, Tolliver, the Belvedere-faced tough 5'7" guard with an assassin's heart and the executor, as a freshman of the biggest clutch shot in the history of the Maryland's women's team, a 3-point shot with only seconds that sent the 06 championship game in overtime, put her hands into her face and cried. Folks, again, I'm going to link you guys to the story here on the Sparks Twitter handle, folks, but again, folks, this is a point that was brought up with myself and Rafael Esparza back on July 24th on Straight Back Talk, folks, is the constant struggle that these unbelievably awesome athletes, folks, go through, like Candace, Christy, and again, folks, majority, roughly, 3/4 of the WNBA players that do this, folks. This is a taxing and, very taxing and tolling route to go. So for one, to get money, but at the same time, though, folks, again, is playing that year-round experience. Now, folks, I can kind of vouch for that, again, because I've played overseas 3 years of playing international baseball for Team USA, folks. And it is really tough for 1 month, at least in my case, is you go from, your home life of, training hard for this tournament you're going to be playing in, and then you have to, board a flight early in the morning and go somewhere you've never been to. I've played in Japan twice, I played in Mexico twice, in Australia, and a few times, in a few other places, folks, in Italy. And it is folks, it's a really tough adventure and a very uphill climb you face when you do this kind of a trip, or in Tolliver's case, folks, is doing this overseas commitment. Now, folks, I kind of get, though, I've kind of gotten the illusion from some fans that Tolliver was selling out on the franchise, folks. In no means, again, folks, was Tolliver selling out, or being disloyal, folks. Again, this was something that Christy was planning on doing because Team USA kind of, shoved the door in her face and locked it and didn't let her come in for training camp this year for the U.S. women's national team for the FIBA games and for the Olympics. So you kind of have to go elsewhere, folks. I mean, the best example I can give of going somewhere else to play international basketball, folks, like this, would be Becky Hammon, folks. How she left Team USA, did get a fair shot, and went to play in Russia and has her dual citizenship to play with Team USA or play over here in the States and then go play with the Russian national team for the Olympic Games. But, folks, that article that I read on my travel day was a real eye-opener, folks, because, I mean, at the same time, I mean, like Christy said, though, folks, I mean, kind of going overseas is kind of like, hey, whatever. I mean, I kind of do this, every time. But, folks, I think it was different for Christy in one case because she left mid-season and it was going somewhere else, and she was torn. I mean, there was, I mean, and like the article said, folks, I mean, she was really torn, depressed, very, very sad, crying her eyes out because she was so torn between, being in LA with her teammates and then, doing this mid-season, folks, again. And the article was fantastically written, folks. So, again, I will link you folks to that on the LA Sparks 365 Twitter handle. But, again, ladies and gentlemen, again, a great story written by the Washington Post about Christy Tolliver and her overseas commitments. And this sort of, folks, speaks to anyone out there that plays a sport and has to do it overseas twice in a row. And and at the same time, I mean, the best one I can think of, folks, again, is Candace Parker. I mean, she's the kind of in saying that, folks, not just as a fan of Candace, but at the same time, though, as as a player and kind of a best friend of my, and kind of one of my best friends out there on social media and in person, back on July 23rd, is Russia has sort of become their second home almost. I mean, especially for her daughter Layla. I think she's. I mean, there was, on the Backstage Sparks feature last year at least, Candace even said on Sportsnet last year that, even when they're back in LA during this time of the year, Layla always asks Candace, when are we going back to Russia? Because that's sort of been their second home, folks. And the thing is, folks, is the average sports fans will never understand what the WNBA players go through, because they make maybe $112,000 of salary here, and they're getting paid maybe $1 million over there, and the struggle that they have to go through, folks, and above all, playing the game year-round. I mean, that is a very, very challenging effort, and plus you're doing it, folks, in a foreign country where you don't have any family, no friends, no one you really know, folks, that travels over there, except maybe a few of your friends that play in the WNBA, perhaps. And again, I said a lot, folks, that I couldn't envision myself if I had stayed playing if I had stayed playing baseball. I couldn't imagine myself playing in the Major League Baseball season for 162 games plus the playoffs, and then coming over here to Hawaii, or going to Japan or Korea to play in their pro baseball organizations. I just could not see it happening, because it's a very uphill climb that you face, because you don't have any family, friends that would go with you, or over there, and you're playing games in a foreign country, and it's a completely different lifestyle, and a lot of factors, folks, that you have to adjust to: time zone change, weather, eating habits, travel, how you get around the place you're going to. So I mean, there's a lot of uphill factors, folks, that everyone kind of needs to understand about when athletes go play overseas. And and folks, in KT's case, the article kind of choked me up, folks, because when I read about KT crying on her flight over to Russia, that was again partially a eye opener that it's that these athletes get so torn between what to do, where to go or what to do. And I can only, folks, I can tip my hat even more to Chris Tolliver, folks, for doing this for her career. And her career, folks, is gonna be going on for many, many more years. So I will tell you what, folks, we wish Christy nothing but the best when she does play with the Slovakian national team, folks. If Team USA does play them this year in the FIBA games, but her future, folks, I mean, her future cannot be any brighter with this addition of the Slovak passport to go play in Russia, and we will see what happens later down the road.